Right now, at this very second, you are losing. You are losing opportunities, you are losing money, and you are losing time. Why? Because you are waiting for the world to give you what you want instead of taking it. You are operating under the false assumption that merit alone is enough. You believe that if you work hard, keep your head down, and play by the rules, the universe will reward you. That is a lie. The world does not reward the people with the best ideas. It does not reward the people with the kindest hearts or the hardest work ethics. The world rewards the people who can convince others to follow them. It rewards the persuasive. If you are listening to this, it is because you have felt the sting of invisibility. You know the frustration of having the best solution in the room only to be drowned out by someone louder yet less competent. You know the bitterness of watching a promotion, a relationship, or a deal slip through your fingers because you couldn't find the right words to close the gap. You have felt the weight of being a passenger in your own life, subject to the whims and decisions of others. That ends today. This audiobook is not a collection of cheap sales tricks. We are not here to discuss sleazy manipulation tactics or how to bully people into submission. That is amateur hour. True persuasion is an art form. It is a science rooted in human biology, sociology, and deep psychology. It is the ability to align your desires with the needs of others so perfectly that helping you becomes their priority. Over the course of the next 10 chapters, we are going to dismantle the way you interact with reality. We are going to strip away the hesitation and the politeness that has been programmed into you by a society that prefers you to be compliant. We will replace it with strategy, precision, and undeniable influence. We will start internally. You cannot command a room if you cannot command your own mind. We will destroy the imposter syndrome that makes your voice shake when the stakes are high. Then we will move to the mechanics. You will learn the silent language of status, how to stand, look, and move in a way that signals authority before you speak a single syllable. We will dissect the architecture of trust, the power of reciprocity, and the weaponization of storytelling. By the end of this journey, you will possess a toolkit that makes you dangerous, not dangerous in a violent sense, but dangerous to the status quo. You will be the person who can turn a no into a yes. You will be the person who navigates conflict with a cool head and walks away with the outcome you envisioned. You will move from being a character in someone else's story to being the author of your own. But understand this, with this knowledge comes a heavy responsibility. The tools you're about to acquire work. They work on your boss, they work on your spouse, and they work on strangers. When you understand how the human brain makes decisions, often irrationally and emotionally, you gain a master key to social dynamics. Use it wisely. If you are ready to stop asking for permission and start commanding respect, you are in the right place. Before we begin this transformation, if you are finding value in this content and want to continue your journey toward mastery, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel, the Premier Audiobooks. Your support helps us bring these insights to more people who are ready to wake up and take control. Now, clear your mind. Forget everything you were taught about being nice. Nice gets you trampled. Effective gets you results. It is time to learn the psychology of winning. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The First Sale. Who is the toughest person you will ever have to convince? It isn't the skeptical client sitting across the boardroom table, arms crossed and budget tight. It isn't the attractive stranger at the bar you are terrified to approach. It isn't even your stubborn boss who refuses to see the value in your new project. The hardest sell of your life is the face looking back at you in the mirror. Welcome to the foundation of all influence. Before we discuss tactics, body language, or linguistic patterns, we must address the single point of failure for 99% of people trying to learn persuasion: a lack of internal conviction. You cannot sell a dream that you do not believe in. You cannot lead people to a destination if you are lost. And you certainly cannot ask someone to invest their time, money, or emotion in you if you are secretly questioning your own worth. This chapter is the first sale. If you do not close this deal, the deal with yourself, nothing else in this audiobook will work. You can memorize every script and master every power pose, but if your internal frequency is broadcasting doubt, the world will hear it loud and clear. Humans are evolutionary experts at detecting fraud. We have survived for thousands of years by being able to sense uncertainty in our leaders. When you hesitate, even for a microsecond, you trigger a primal alarm in the person you are speaking to. They might not be able to articulate it. They might just say, "Something feels off." But that feeling is enough to kill your influence dead in its tracks. We are going to surgically remove that doubt. We're going to explore the physics of certainty, dismantle the imposter syndrome that cripples your potential, and define the crucial difference between forcing compliance and inspiring agreement. The physics of certainty. Let's look at persuasion through the lens of physics. Persuasion is, at its core, a transfer of energy. It is the transfer of certainty from one human mind to another. Imagine two people entering a negotiation. Person A believes their product is pretty good. They hope the client likes it. They need the sale to pay their bills. Person B, however, believes their product is the absolute cure for the client's pain. Person B believes that not buying the product would be a tragedy for the client. Person B isn't hoping for a sale. They are on a mission to help. Who wins? Person B wins every single time, not because they are smarter, but because their certainty is higher. This is the law of state transfer. The person with the strongest reality wins the interaction. If your conviction is a 10 on the scale and the other person's resistance is a 6, your reality will overwhelm theirs. But if your conviction is a shaky 4, their skepticism will crush you. Most people approach interactions with a wait-and-see mindset. They wait to see how the other person reacts before they decide how confident to be. If the audience smiles, they become confident. If the audience frowns, they shrink. This is a fatal error. You are outsourcing your emotional state to the person you are trying to lead. You are reacting, not creating. To be a master of persuasion, you must bring the weather. You do not step outside and check to see if it is sunny. You bring the sun with you. You must cultivate a level of internal belief so dense that it has its own gravity. When you possess this, you don't need to use tricks. Your very presence becomes persuasive because certainty is magnetic. In a world full of confusion and ambiguity, people are desperate for someone who knows exactly where they are going. How do you build this? You stop lying to yourself. You cannot feign certainty. You have to manufacture it through evidence. Before you enter a high-stakes conversation, you must prosecute your own case. Ask yourself, why is my request valid? Why is my idea the best one? What value do I bring? If you cannot answer these questions with aggression and clarity in private, you will crumble in public. You need to become a fanatic about your own value. This doesn't mean being arrogant. Arrogance is a shield for insecurity. True certainty is quiet. It is the calm knowledge that you have done the work, you understand the problem, and you hold the solution. When you speak from this place, your voice changes. The pitch drops. The tempo steadies. You stop using filler words like and maybe. You stop asking for permission to speak and start granting the audience the privilege of listening. The saboteur. Dismantling imposter syndrome. Now let's address the invisible wall. The saboteur. The voice in your head that says, "Who are you to demand this? You're not an expert. You're a fraud. Soon they will find you out." This is imposter syndrome, and it is the assassin of ambition. Here's the truth that the successful people hide. The feeling of being an imposter never truly goes away. The CEO feels it. The movie star feels it. The world leader feels it. The difference is that the amateur lets the fear stop them, while the professional uses the fear as fuel. Imposter syndrome is actually a good sign. It means you are pushing into new territory. It means you are outside your comfort zone. If you feel completely qualified for everything you do, you are stagnating. You are playing a game that is too small for you. However, you cannot let it dictate your actions. You must reframe the narrative. When that voice whispers, "You aren't ready," you must answer, "I am ready enough to figure it out." Persuasion requires you to step into a role. It is a performance. When a surgeon walks into the operating room, they might be tired, they might be worried about their mortgage, or they might be fighting with their spouse. But the moment they put on the mask, they become the surgeon. They adopt the persona of the savior. They do not burden the patient with their personal doubts. That would be irresponsible. You must do the same. When you are trying to persuade, whether it is rallying your team or convincing your partner to move cities, you have a duty to lead. Your doubt serves no one. It only creates chaos. By suppressing your insecurity and projecting strength, you are actually performing an act of service. You are providing stability for the other person. Stop waiting for a certificate of permission. No one is going to tap you on the shoulder and say, "Okay, you are now officially authorized to be influential." You must authorize yourself. You must look in the mirror and decide that your voice matters. The saboteur feeds on silence. The more you keep your fears hidden, the larger they grow. Combat this by focusing entirely on the other person. Imposter syndrome is fundamentally selfish. It is an obsession with how you look and how you are being perceived. When you shift your focus outward to solving the other person's problem, to making their life better, the self-consciousness evaporates. You are too busy executing the mission to worry about whether you look the part. The audit. Why should they listen? Let's move from mindset to mechanics. To sell yourself, you need to conduct a brutal audit of your inventory. If you were a stock on the market, would you buy yourself? If the answer is, "I don't know," then you have work to do. Persuasion is not magic. It is the articulation of value. If you do not have value, no amount of smooth talking will save you. This leads us to the concept of the gap. Persuasion is the art of bridging the gap between where someone is and where they want to be. To be the bridge, you must be solid. Take a piece of paper. Write down the 3 biggest wins of your life. Write down the 3 hardest problems you have solved. Write down the unique skills you possess that the average person does not. This is your ammunition. Most people walk into persuasion scenario empty-handed. They rely on their charm or their desperate need for a yes. You will walk in armed with evidence. When you know your worth, you stop begging. Begging repels people. Desperation is a stench that lingers in a room. Have you ever had a salesperson try too hard? They talk too fast, they smile too much, and they agree with everything you say? You want to get away from them immediately. Why? Because their low status lowers your status by association. High-value persuasion is indifferent. It says, "I have this incredible opportunity. I think it would be great for you. If you want it, let's work. If not, I will find someone else who understands its value." This creates scarcity. When you are willing to walk away, your value skyrockets. But you can only be willing to walk away if you truly believe in your own worth. If you think this is your only shot, you will cling to it, and in doing so, you will lose it. The first sale is realizing that you are the prize. You are not the supplicant asking for a favor. You are the benefactor offering a solution. This mental shift changes your posture. It changes the way you hold eye contact. It changes the subtle phrasing of your sentences. You stop saying, "Is this okay?" and start saying, "Here's the plan."
Coercion versus influence. As we prepare to move into the tactical chapters of this book, we must draw a hard line in the sand. We must distinguish between coercion and influence. Many people mistake the two. They think persuasion is about overpowering someone.
They think it is about relentless pressure, arguing until the other person gives up, or tricking someone into a trap. That is not persuasion. That is bullying, and it is a short-term strategy with long-term consequences. Coercion creates compliance. You might get what you want in the moment, but you have bred resentment. The person who was coerced will look for the first opportunity to escape the deal, to sabotage you, or to ruin your reputation. You have won the battle, but lost the war. Influence creates commitment. When you truly persuade someone, they don't just agree with you, they adopt your idea as their own. They become your champion. They execute the plan not because you're watching, but because they believe in it. The first sale involves checking your own ethics. Are you trying to trick people, or are you trying to serve them? When your intent is pure, your persuasion becomes cleaner. You don't need to hide your agenda because your agenda is mutually beneficial. People can sense intent. If you approach someone with the mindset of, "What can I get from this person?" they will put up their shields. If you approach them with the mindset of, "How can I help this person get what they want while getting what I want?" the shields come down. This is the paradox of selfishness. The best way to get what you want is to be obsessively focused on what the other person wants. We will talk about the debt of obligation and reciprocity in later chapters, but it starts here. You must view yourself as a provider of value, not an extractor of resources. The architecture of belief. How do we solidify this internal state? We use the same tools on ourselves that we will later use on others. 1. Framing. How do you frame your failures? If you frame a rejection as "I am not good enough," you lose power. If you frame it as "This approach didn't work, I need to adjust the data," you maintain power. You must be the editor of your own life story. Do not let negative self-talk run unchecked. Catch it, kill it, and replace it with a pragmatic frame. 2. Visualization. This is not New Age fluff. It is neuroprogramming. Before a meeting, visualize the outcome. See the handshake. Hear the agreement. Feel the emotion of success. Your brain struggles to distinguish between a vivid visualization and a real memory. By rehearsing success, you desensitize yourself to the pressure. When the moment comes, you have been there before. 3. Physiology. Your mind follows your body. If you sit slumped over, looking down, shallow breathing, you will feel submissive. If you want to sell yourself, you must inhabit the body of a winner. Stand up. Take up space. Breathe deep into your diaphragm. This floods your system with testosterone and lowers cortisol. You can biohack your way to conviction in 2 minutes simply by changing your stance. The unspoken contract. Ultimately, the first sale is an unspoken contract you sign with the universe. The contract states, "I refuse to be a victim of circumstance. I am an active agent in my own destiny." Most people are drifting. They are waiting for a leader. They're waiting for someone to tell them what to do, what to buy, and what to believe. They are terrified of freedom because freedom requires responsibility. When you complete the first sale, you step out of the herd. You become the leader they are waiting for. You will notice a shift in how people treat you. When you stop seeking validation, people start giving it to you freely. When you stop fearing conflict, conflict dissipates. When you believe your time is valuable, others will respect your schedule. It is a magical transformation, but it is not magic. It is simply the reflection of your internal reality onto the external world. We are about to embark on a deep dive into the specific tools of persuasion. We will learn how to read micro-expressions, how to structure sentences to bypass critical thinking, and how to negotiate like a grandmaster. But none of those tools are heavy enough to be wielded by a weak hand. You must be strong enough to hold the sword. So I ask you again, do you believe? Do you believe that you deserve to be heard? Do you believe that your ideas are worth fighting for? Do you believe that you are capable of changing your reality? If there is even a sliver of doubt, kill it now. Look at your track record. You have survived 100% of your bad days. You have learned, adapted, and grown. You are a survival machine. Trust in your capacity to handle whatever comes. That is the essence of confidence. It isn't knowing the future. It is trusting that you can handle the future. Once you have that, you are dangerous. Once you have that, you are ready to learn the dark arts and the bright sciences of influence. The sale is closed. The contract is signed. You are no longer an observer. You are a player. Now let's go out there and get what is yours. Chapter 2. The Silent Broadcast. You walk into a room.
You haven't said a word. You haven't introduced yourself, shaken a hand, or presented a single idea. Yet everyone in that room has already decided who you are. They have decided if you are a leader or a follower. They have decided if you are a threat or an asset. They have decided if you are worth listening to or if you are simply background noise. It took them less than 7 seconds. Welcome to the silent broadcast. Most people obsess over their script. They memorize lines, rehearse jokes, and perfect their elevator pitch. They spend 99% of their energy on the words they will say. But science tells us that words account for a tiny fraction of human communication. Some studies suggest as little as 7%. The rest? It is tone, it is body language, and it is energy. If your words say, "I'm an expert," but your body says, "I am terrified," the audience will believe your body every single time. The body cannot lie. It is wired directly to your limbic system, the emotional core of your brain. In this chapter, we are going to master the 93%. We are going to learn how to hack the subconscious filters of the people around you. We will teach you how to signal high status, competence, and authority without opening your mouth. You will learn to control the atmosphere of a room simply by entering it. The predator, the prey, and the partner. To understand nonverbal persuasion, you must understand the primitive brain. Beneath our neocortex, the part of the brain that handles logic and language, sits the reptilian brain. This ancient structure cares about one thing: survival. When you meet someone new, their reptilian brain instantly scans you and categorizes you into one of 3 buckets. The predator, someone dangerous, aggressive, or dominant. The reaction is fear or submission. The prey, someone weak, submissive, or nervous. The reaction is dismissal or contempt. The partner, someone competent, valuable, and equal. The reaction is respect and engagement. Your goal in persuasion is almost always to be categorized as the partner, but a partner with high status. Most people unknowingly signal prey. They hunch their shoulders to take up less space. They smile too quickly and too often, which is the submissive appeasement signal. They fidget. They break eye contact the moment it gets intense. They are broadcasting, "Please don't hurt me, I am not a threat." If you broadcast prey, you can have the best argument in the world, and it won't matter. You have already been dismissed. Conversely, some people overcompensate and broadcast predator. They stare too hard. They invade personal space. They puff their chests out like a gorilla. This creates resistance. The other person's defenses go up, and persuasion becomes impossible because they are now fighting you. The sweet spot is the high-status partner. This is the alpha who does not need to bark. It is the silverback gorilla who sits quietly in the center of the troop, unbothered, while the younger males beat their chests. How do you achieve this? It starts with stillness, the power of stillness. Nervous energy is the enemy of influence.
Think about a king. Does a king run? Does a king fidget? Does a king look around the room nervously to see who is watching him? No. A king moves slowly. A king moves with intention. Anxiety manifests as unnecessary movement, tapping your foot, clicking a pen,
Touching your face, adjusting your tie. These are leakage signals. They leak your internal discomfort to the outside world. To project high status, you must master the art of stillness. When you are listening to someone, sit perfectly still. Do not nod like a bobblehead doll. A rapid nod signals, I am desperate for you to like me. Finish talking. A slow, deliberate nod signals, I am evaluating what you are saying. When you move, move with economy. If you are going to pick up a glass of water, do it smoothly. If you're going to turn your head, turn it deliberately. This sounds minor, but the psychological impact is massive. Low-status individuals are reactive. They twitch at every sound. High-status individuals are unreactive. They are the anchor in the storm. By simply slowing down your physical movements by 20%, you instantly double your perceived authority. Try this experiment. The next time you are in a meeting, stop moving. Plant your feet flat on the floor. Rest your hands on the table or your lap. Keep your head still. Focus your eyes on the speaker. You will feel the energy in the room shift toward you. People will wonder what you were thinking. Your silence becomes loud. You become magnetic because you are the most grounded object in the room, the geometry of dominance. Let's talk about space. In the animal kingdom, size equals power. We no longer fight for territory on the savannah, but we fight for psychological territory in the office and the home. The rule is simple. High-status people expand. Low-status people shrink. When you sit, do not cross your legs and fold your arms inward. This is the fetal position. It is a defensive posture protecting your vital organs. It screams insecurity. Instead, open up. Put your arm on the chair next to you. Widen your stance. Expose your torso. This signals confidence. It says, I am not afraid of being attacked. When you stand, stand tall. Imagine a string pulling the crown of your head toward the ceiling. Roll your shoulders back and down. This opens the chest and facilitates deeper breathing, which deepens your voice. But there is a nuance here. You don't want to man-spread or look like you are lounging. You want to look ready. Lean in slightly when you are speaking. This signals engagement. Lean back when you are listening. This signals evaluation. The most critical spatial dynamic, however, happens when you enter a room. This is the doorway drill. Most people walk through a door with their head down, checking their phone or looking for a seat. They sneak in. From now on, every time you walk through a doorframe, pause for a split second. Look at the room, scanning it from left to right. Acknowledge the space. Then walk in with purpose. This subtle pause registers in the peripheral vision of everyone inside. It signals that someone important has arrived. It is a subconscious trigger. You are not sneaking in. You are making an entrance. The eyes have it. Eye contact is the single most powerful tool in your nonverbal arsenal. It is the conduit of connection and the weapon of dominance. When you avoid eye contact, you look shifty or weak. When you hold it too long, you look creepy or aggressive. The persuasion gaze follows a specific pattern. When you are speaking, you should hold eye contact about 70 to 80% of the time. When you are listening, you should hold it almost 100% of the time. Most people do the opposite.
They look at the person when they listen, but look away when they speak, usually up or down, as they search for words. This breaks the connection. Train yourself to think while looking at the other person. If you need to break eye contact, look to the side, not down. Looking down is a signal of submission or shame. Looking to the side signals that you are accessing information.
There is also the triangle of trust. If you look at someone's forehead, you seem distant. If you look at their mouth, it can seem sensual or intimate, which is bad for business. To convey professional warmth and trust, rotate your gaze between their left eye, their right eye, and the bridge of their nose. Keep your gaze in that upper triangle. And what about when someone challenges you? What if they are staring you down? This is a dominance test. If you look away first, you lose. But if you stare back aggressively, you escalate conflict. The solution is the soft gaze. Do not narrow your eyes. Relax your face. Keep your eyes locked on theirs, but breathe slowly. Blink normally. By refusing to break the gaze, but also refusing to look angry, you signal supreme confidence. You are telling them, your aggression does not affect me. I am comfortable here. Usually, they will break the gaze first, and in that moment, the power dynamic shifts to you. The micro-signals of agreement. Persuasion is often about making the other person feel like you are just like them. People like people who are like themselves. This brings us to mirroring. You have probably heard of mirroring, copying the other person's body language. But most people do this clumsily. If they cross their legs, you cross their legs immediately. This looks like mockery. Masterful mirroring is delayed and subtle. It is echoing rather than copying. If they lean back, wait 10 seconds, then slowly lean back. If they speak slowly and quietly, drop your volume and tempo to match them. If they are high energy and using their hands, wake up your own gestures. You are trying to match their energy state, not just their limbs. Why does this work? Because it creates neural resonance. When two people are in rapport, their breathing patterns synchronize. Their heart rates can even synchronize. By consciously aligning your physical state with theirs, you signal to their subconscious, I am safe, I am one of your tribe, you can trust me. Once you have established this sync, you can test your influence by leading. After mirroring them for a while, change your posture. If you were both leaning back, lean forward. If they unconsciously follow you and lean forward too, you have them. You have established a feedback loop where they are now mirroring you. This is a green light. It means you have established enough rapport to start leading the conversation toward your goal. The sound of authority. We cannot talk about the silent broadcast without talking about the voice. Yes, words are content, but the voice is the carrier signal. There are three main vocal tonalities. Upward inflection, the seeker. The voice goes up at the end of the sentence, like a question, even when it's a statement. This is the Valley Girl syndrome. It signals severe insecurity. It sounds like you are asking for approval. My price is $5,000 implies, is that okay with you? Flat inflection, the robot. This is boring and disengaged. It puts people to sleep.
Downward inflection. The voice goes down at the end of the sentence. My price is $5,000. Period. It sounds like a statement of fact. It implies, this is how it is. To be persuasive, you must scrub the upward inflection from your speech patterns. Record yourself speaking. Do you turn statements into questions? If so, stop it. Practice finishing your sentences on a low note. Imagine the period at the end of the sentence is a heavy weight dropping to the floor. Additionally, use the strategic pause. Most people are terrified of silence. If there is a gap in conversation, they rush to fill it with nervous chatter. The master persuader loves silence. When you make a strong point, stop talking. Let the silence hang in the air. Let the other person sit with the weight of your words. If you ask for something, I need this report by Friday, and they hesitate, do not speak. Do not say, or Monday is fine if you're busy. Just wait. Look at them pleasantly, and wait. Silence creates pressure. The other person will feel a compulsion to fill that void. And usually, they will fill it by agreeing to your request or revealing true information. Silence is not empty. It is a tool.
Use it to underline your authority. The artifacts of status. Finally, consider the artifacts you carry. Your clothes, your grooming, and your props are part of the broadcast. This is not about being shallow. It is about cognitive ease. When you dress the part, you make it easy for people to believe you. If you walk into a bank asking for a loan wearing sweatpants, the banker has to work hard to imagine you as a responsible borrower.
If you wear a tailored suit, the banker's brain says, yes, this looks right. You want to remove friction. Dress one level above the average person in the room. If everyone is in t-shirts, wear a collared shirt. If everyone is in suits, wear the best-fitted suit. Pay attention to details, clean shoes, groomed fingernails, a nice pen. These are trust markers. They signal that you handle the small things with care, which implies you will handle the big things, their money, their project, their heart, with care. If you look chaotic, people assume your mind is chaotic. If you look sharp, people assume your mind is sharp. The pre-game ritual. How do you pull this all together? You cannot consciously think about your feet, your eyes, your hands, and your voice all at once while trying to have a conversation. You will look like a robot. You need to practice these skills individually until they become automatic, but you can use a pre-game ritual to set your state before a high-stakes interaction. Before you walk into that meeting or that date, take 60 seconds. Shake it out, release the physical tension. Power pose. Stand like Superman, hands on hips, chest out for 30 seconds. Studies showed this momentarily boosts confidence hormones. Deepen the breath. Take 3 deep breaths into the belly to slow your heart rate. Set the intention. Decide, I am the partner. I am the prize. Then walk through the door. Pause. Scan. Enter. Chapter 3. The magnetism of identity. There is an unfair truth about the world that you must accept before we go any further. It is a truth that drives logical, analytical people absolutely crazy. It is this. People do not choose the best option. They choose the option they like the best.
You can have the superior product. You can have the more robust data. You can be the more qualified candidate for the job. But if the decision maker feels a coldness from you and a warmth from your competitor, you will lose. Every single time. We like to think of ourselves as rational beings who weigh the pros and cons, calculate the ROI, and make objective decisions. We are not. We are emotional creatures who use logic to justify decisions we have already made with our hearts. This chapter is about the magnetism of identity. It is about the psychology of charisma. Most people believe charisma is a genetic lottery ticket. You are either born with that sparkle in your eye or you aren't. They look at the Bill Clintons, the Oprah Winfreys, and the Dwayne Johnsons of the world and think, I could never do that. They are wrong. Charisma is not magic. It is a sequence of social cues that can be learned, practiced, and mastered. It is a piece of engineering. It is the ability to project a personality that others want to be around, want to support, and want to agree with. If Chapter 1 was about fixing your internal engine, and Chapter 2 was about painting the exterior, Chapter 3 is about the gravitational pull that brings people into your orbit. The halo effect. Why likability is lethal. Why does likability matter so much? It comes down to a cognitive bias known as the halo effect. When we perceive one positive trait in a person, specifically warmth or attractiveness, our brains automatically assume that person possesses other positive traits even without evidence. If you are likable, people subconsciously assume you are also smarter, more honest, and more capable. If you are unlikable or cold, people subconsciously look for flaws in your work. They scrutinize your numbers harder. They question your motives. When you master the magnetism of identity, you are playing the game on easy mode. People want to say yes to you because saying yes to a friend feels good. Saying yes to a stranger feels risky. So how do we engineer this magnetism? It requires balancing 2 opposing forces, power and warmth. The charisma equation. If you have high power but low warmth, you are seen as impressive but cold.
People might respect you, but they won't help you. They might fear you, but they won't love you. Think of the ruthless dictator or the brilliant but arrogant surgeon. If you have high warmth but low power, you are seen as nice but ineffective. People like you, but they don't take you seriously. You are the doormat. True magnetism exists at the intersection. It is the iron fist in the velvet glove. It is the ability to be formidable and accessible at the same time. We covered power in the previous chapters, conviction and body language. Now we must inject the warmth. Warmth is not about being a pushover. It is about signaling benevolent intent. It tells the primitive brain of your audience, I have the power to crush you, but I choose to help you instead. That is an intoxicating combination. The spotlight effect, it's not about you. The biggest mistake people make when trying to be charismatic is trying to be impressive. They walk into a room and start talking about their accolades, their expensive car, or their high-flying connections. They think if I show them how great I am, they will like me. In reality, this creates distance. It triggers envy and annoyance.
The most charismatic person in the room is not the one standing on the table shouting, "Look at me!" It is the person who makes you feel like the most important person in the world. This is the spotlight effect. Think about the last time you had a truly great conversation. Was it with someone who monologued about themselves for an hour? No, it was with someone who looked you in the eye, asked you deep questions, and actually listened to the answers. To be magnetic, you must become a master of the reverse. When the spotlight hits you, you deflect it back onto them. If someone asks, "How is your business going?" you give a brief, positive answer and then immediately pivot. "It's great, we're scaling up, but I'm curious about your project. I heard you were tackling that new market. How is that navigating the current regulations?" Watch what happens. Their eyes will light up. Humans are hardwired to release dopamine when talking about themselves. It is a biological reward. If you become the person who triggers that dopamine release, they will become addicted to your presence. You must listen with your whole body. Do not listen just to wait for your turn to speak. Listen to understand. When they finish a thought, wait 2 seconds before responding. This signals that their words were heavy enough to require processing. Then ask a second layer question. Layer 1 is, "Where are you from?" Layer 2 is, "What was it like growing up there?" Or, "Do you miss it?" Layer 2 is where the emotion lives. When you get someone to share an emotion, nostalgia, excitement, fear, they bond with you. They feel felt.
And once someone feels understood by you, they will trust you with their life. The power of flaws. The pratfall effect. Here is a counterintuitive secret. Perfection is repulsive. We are taught to hide our mistakes, to airbrush our lives, and to present a flawless facade. But psychological studies show that we actually like people more when they reveal a minor flaw or make a small mistake. This is called the pratfall effect. In a famous study, participants listened to a recording of a person taking a quiz. In one version, the person answered everything perfectly. In the second version, the person answered everything perfectly, but then spilled a cup of coffee on themselves. The participants rated the person who spilled the coffee as significantly more likable. Why? Because the perfect person seemed robotic and threatening. The coffee spiller seemed human. They seemed accessible. If you are too polished, people put their guards up. They think, "What is he hiding?" Or, "He thinks he is better than me." To be magnetic, you must strategically lower your shield. This does not mean you should be incompetent. You still need to demonstrate high competence, power. But once you have established your competence, you must humanize yourself with a flaw, warmth. If you are giving a speech and you lose your place, don't panic. Smile and say, "I got so excited about that last point, I completely forgot where I was going." The audience will laugh with you, not at you. The tension breaks,
you become real. If you are a leader, admitting a small weakness makes you stronger. I'm great at the big vision, but I'm terrible at the spreadsheets. That's why I need you guys. This creates a vacuum that invites others to step in.
It validates their value. If you are perfect, you don't need them. If you are human, there is room for a partnership. Strategic similarity, the us dynamic. We like people who are like us. This is the principle of homophilia. But we aren't talking about superficial similarities like, oh, you wear blue shirts? I wear blue shirts too. We're talking about deep, value-based similarities. To persuade someone, you must identify their tribe and signal that you are a member. People organize their identities around groups. I am a conservative. I am a vegan. I am an entrepreneur. I am a mother. Your job is to find the badge they are wearing and show them you are wearing it too. If you are selling to a struggling business owner, you don't bond over the weather. You bond over the pain of the grind. I know what it's like to stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering if payroll is going to clear. I've been there. Instantly, you move from salesman, them, to fellow warrior, us. Once you're in the us circle, trust is automatic. We protect our own. We buy from our own. However, you must be authentic. Do not lie about who you are. Instead, find the overlap. You are a multifaceted human being. You have hundreds of experiences. In any interaction, you simply highlight the facet of your identity that aligns with theirs. This is not manipulation, it is calibration. You speak to a child differently than you speak to a judge. You are still you, but you are tuning your frequency to match the receiver. The attractive character. In the world of marketing and storytelling, there is a concept called the attractive character.
This is the persona you present to the world. People follow characters, not vague concepts. To be persuasive, you must define who you are. You cannot be vanilla. Vanilla is safe, but vanilla is forgettable. There are 4 main archetypes of the attractive character. You should identify which one fits you best and lean into it. The leader. You lead from the front. You have the answers. You are bold, decisive, and protective. People follow you because they want safety and direction. Example, the confident CEO. The adventurer. You are curious. You explore new things and bring back the treasure to the tribe. People follow you because they want to live vicariously through your courage. Example, the innovative entrepreneur. The reporter. You are on a journey of discovery. You don't have all the answers yet, but you are interviewing the experts and sharing what you learn. People follow you because they identify with your quest for knowledge. Example, the interviewer or consultant. The reluctant hero. You didn't want the spotlight, but necessity forced you to step up. You are humble and normal, but you have a secret or a solution that the world needs. People follow you because they see themselves in you. Example, the unexpected success story. Pick a lane. If you try to be all of them, you are none of them. Consistency creates trust. If you are the no-nonsense leader today and the goofy adventurer tomorrow, people will think you are unstable. Define your character. What do you stand for? What do you stand against? A magnetic identity requires polarization. You cannot be loved by everyone. If you try to please everyone, you will please no one. You must be willing to be disliked by some in order to be loved by others.
State your values clearly. I believe in brutal honesty. I believe speed is more important than perfection. When you draw a line in the sand, you attract the people on your side of the line with intense force. Those on the other side will leave, and that is fine. You don't want lukewarm followers. You want true believers. The art of labeling. One of the most powerful linguistic tools for building likability and influencing behavior is labeling. This involves assigning a positive trait to someone before they have demonstrated it. I can see you are the kind of person who really values integrity. I know you are someone who creates high-quality work. You seem like a person who is open to new ideas. When you give someone a positive label, their ego instinctively wants to live up to it. It is a psychological consistency trap. If you label them as fair, they will struggle to act unfairly toward you because it would contradict the identity you just gave them. Furthermore, people love being labeled positively. It makes them feel seen. It creates a warm glow. I've always admired how you handle pressure. You never seem to crack. Say that to a stressed-out colleague, and you have made a friend for life. You have validated their struggle and turned it into a virtue, the law of association. Finally, you must manage your environment. The law of association states that you are judged by the company you keep and the setting you inhabit. If you are always seen with high-status, respected people, their value transfers to you. If you are seen in high-quality environments, that quality transfers to you. But it goes deeper. You want to be associated with positive emotions.
Don't be the bearer of bad news. Don't be the person who always complains. If every time you show up you are venting about the traffic, the weather, or politics, people will anchor those negative feelings to your face. Be the source of good energy. Be the person who brings the solution, not the problem. There is a concept in psychology called spontaneous trait transference. If you talk negatively about someone else, he is so lazy and dishonest, the listener will subconsciously associate the words lazy and dishonest with you, even though you were talking about a third party. Conversely, if you speak highly of others, she is so brilliant and hardworking, the listener associates brilliant and hardworking with you. Be the person who gossips positively. It is the ultimate hack. You look generous, confident, because you aren't threatened, and the positive adjectives stick to your reputation like Velcro. The vulnerability loop. We end this chapter with the glue that holds relationships together: vulnerability. We often think we need to impress people to win them over, but you don't bond with someone over your trophies. You bond over your scars. To accelerate a relationship, use the vulnerability loop. Signal a small vulnerability. I'm actually a bit nervous about this presentation. Wait for them to reciprocate. Oh, me too. Public speaking terrifies me. Acknowledge and validate. Glad I'm not the only one. Boom. Connection established. If you signal vulnerability and they don't reciprocate, stop. Do not overshare with someone who is keeping their armor up. That looks weak. But when used correctly, it is a signal of trust that invites the other person to drop their weapon. The magnetism mindset. Ultimately, the magnetism of identity is not about acting, it is about editing.
You are editing out the insecurity, the neediness, and the self-absorption. You are highlighting the warmth, the curiosity, and the shared values. You are becoming a mirror that reflects the other person's best self back at them. When someone looks at you, they should see a version of themselves they like. They should feel smarter, funnier, and more capable in your presence. If you can achieve that, if you can make people feel better about themselves simply by being near you, you will never have to sell anything again. The world will beat a path to your door. You have now mastered the internal game, the nonverbal broadcast, and the magnetic persona. You are a high-value, high-status, likable individual. Now it is time to ask for what you want. But we aren't just going to ask. We are going to engineer a situation where they feel obligated to give it to us. We are going to explore the psychological debt of reciprocity. Chapter 4. The debt of obligation. Have you ever walked through a supermarket and been offered a free sample of cheese or a piece of chocolate? You take it, you eat it, and it tastes good. But as you walk away, something strange happens. You feel a subtle, nagging pull to turn around and buy the block of cheese. You don't even really want the cheese, but the smiling person in the apron gave you something, and now, deep in your reptilian brain,
You feel a compulsion to give something back. You have just been hit by the weapon of reciprocity. Welcome to the debt of obligation. This chapter is about one of the most powerful and automatic psychological triggers in existence. It is the rule that says, we are obliged to the future repayment of favors, gifts, invitations, and the like. Sociologists and anthropologists argue that this rule is what made human civilization possible. It allowed our ancestors to share food and tools with the confidence that their generosity would be returned later. It created a web of indebtedness that bound communities together. But in the modern world, this survival mechanism is a lever that you can pull to get exactly what you want. When you master the art of the preemptive gift, you stop asking for favors and start collecting debts. You create a psychological imbalance, a tension in the other person's mind that can only be resolved by them saying yes to your request. The psychology of the itch. Reciprocity is not just about politeness. It is a visceral, physical discomfort. When we owe someone, we feel heavy. We feel in the red. We use phrases like much obliged, which literally means much bound. We are tied to the person who helped us until we square the ledger. Most people are terrible at using this. They operate on a quid pro quo basis. I will do this for you if you do this for me. That is a transaction. That is a contract. It is cold and it breeds zero loyalty. The master persuader operates on a different timeline. They give first. They give freely. And they give without an explicit request for return. This is the key. The moment your gift looks like a bribe, the magic dies. If you say, I'll buy you dinner if you sign this contract, you are negotiating. But if you say, let me treat you to dinner, no shop talk, just want to celebrate your new promotion, you are building debt. The other person knows, on some level, that you are in business together. But by removing the immediate condition, you trigger the obligation. They now sit at that dinner table thinking, this person is generous. I like them. I should find a way to help them. You are planting seeds that will harvest a forest. The asymmetry of repayment. Here is where it gets dangerous. The rule of reciprocity allows for unequal exchanges. A small initial favor can trigger a much larger return favor. In a famous psychological study from the 1970s, a researcher posed as a fellow participant in an art appreciation experiment. During a break, he would leave and come back with 2 Cokes. He would hand one to the real participant and say, I bought myself a Coke, and I brought you one too. Later, he would ask the participant to buy some raffle tickets. The people who accepted the 10-cent Coke bought significantly more raffle tickets than the people who didn't receive a drink. In fact, they bought tickets worth 5 times the price of the Coke. Why? Because the pressure to not look like a moocher or an ingrate is so strong that people will overpay to relieve the debt. This is the asymmetry of repayment. You can use this. A $5 coffee can buy you 10 minutes of a CEO's time. A handwritten note, cost negligible, can secure a loyal client for life. A genuine introduction between 2 people in your network can lead to a career-defining opportunity for you down the road. The input is small, the output is massive. But you must be the one to initiate the cycle. The currency of value. So what do you give? You don't have to walk around handing out Cokes. In the professional world, the most valuable currency is not money. It is information, attention, and status. 1. Information. If you are trying to persuade a potential client, do not send them a brochure about your company. That is asking, not giving. Instead, send them a white paper, an article, or a market analysis that solves a specific problem they are facing. I saw this report on the new housing regulations and thought of your project. No need to reply, just thought this might help you navigate the changes.
You have just provided value for free. You have demonstrated competence, and you have triggered reciprocity. When you call them next week, they will take the call. They owe you. 2. Attention. We live in an attention economy. Giving someone your undivided focus is a rare gift. This goes back to the spotlight effect from the previous chapter. When you listen to someone's problems without interrupting, without checking your phone, and without trying to sell them something immediately, you are giving them therapy. You're giving them validation. That is a debt they will want to repay. 3. Status. Give people compliments. Give them public recognition. If you're in a meeting, say, "I think Sarah's point about the timeline was brilliant." You just raised Sarah's status in front of the tribe. Sarah now sees you as an ally. She feels indebted to you. Later, when you need a vote or a favor, Sarah is your soldier. The personalized gift. The power of the gift depends on its perceived personalization. If a company sends you a generic calendar with their logo on it, do you feel indebted? No. You throw it in the trash. It feels like marketing.
But if a business associate remembers that you love vintage motorcycles and sends you a book about the history of Ducati, you are floored. The book might only cost $20, but the signal says, "I listen to you. I know you. You are important to me." That debt is heavy. To be a master of obligation, you must be a master observer. Keep a dossier on the people you want to persuade. Note their children's names. Note their hobbies. Note their favorite drinks. When you act on this information, the impact is nuclear. I remembered you mentioned your daughter is starting soccer, so I picked up this book on coaching for you. This cuts through the noise. It proves you are not a robot. It proves you are a partner, as we discussed in Chapter 2. Reciprocal concessions, the door in the face. Now let's look at a tactical application of reciprocity in negotiation. It is called the door in the face technique. This relies on the idea of reciprocal concessions. If I back down from a demand, you feel obligated to back down from your refusal. Here's how it works. You start by making a large request, one that you know will likely be refused. Can you commit to a 2-year contract at $10,000 a month? They say, "No way, that is too expensive and too long." You pause. You look thoughtful. Then you say, "I understand, that is a big commitment. How about we do a 6-month trial at $8,000? You have made a concession. You have retreated from your initial position. To the human brain, this looks like a favor. You are being reasonable. You are meeting them halfway. The pressure for them to say yes to the second request skyrockets.
In reality, the 6-month trial was what you wanted all along. But if you had started with that, they might have negotiated you down further. By starting high and retreating, you frame the second option as a win for them. They feel like they won the negotiation. They feel like they forced you to back down. In reality, you guided them exactly where you wanted them to go. The art of receiving. Here is a trap that many nice people fall into. They are great at giving, but terrible at receiving. When you do a favor for someone and they say, "Thank you so much, you saved my life," what do you say? Most people say, "Oh, it was nothing, don't worry about it." Stop saying that. When you say it was nothing, you are literally devaluing your gift. You are telling them this has zero value, so you owe me zero. You are erasing the debt they want to feel. Instead, you must anchor the debt. You must acknowledge the value of what you did while remaining gracious. The power phrase is, "I know you would do the same for me." Memorize that. I know you would do the same for me. This phrase does 3 things. It accepts the gratitude gracefully. It reinforces the bond. We are the kind of people who help each other. It explicitly implies a future repayment. It plants the idea in their head, yes, if he is ever in trouble, I must do the same for him. You are closing the loop. You are putting the credit in the bank to be withdrawn later. Defending against reciprocity. To be a master, you must also know how to defend yourself.
You are not the only one who knows these tricks.
Salespeople, politicians, and manipulators use reciprocity against you every day. How do you stop it? You cannot simply reject every gift. That makes you look paranoid and rude. If a client buys you lunch, you can't scream, "I won't be bought," and flip the table. The defense is internal. You must reframe the gift. If you realize that the gift is actually a sales device, a bribe designed to trigger compliance, you simply redefine it in your mind. You tell yourself, this is not a gift, this is a sales tactic. The rule of reciprocity says we must return favors for favors. It does not say we must return favors for tricks. Once you label the action as a tactic, the feeling of obligation evaporates. You can drink the free coffee, eat the free cheese, and still say no without a shred of guilt. You accept the object, but you reject the emotional debt. The long game, building a network of favors. The ultimate goal of this chapter is not to win a single argument. It is to build a network of influence. Imagine a spider web. You are at the center. Every thread leading out is a relationship where you have provided value. Every person in your network feels a warm, positive obligation toward you. When you need to launch a new business, you pull the threads. When you need a job, you pull the threads. When you need a defense against a scandal, you pull the threads. This is what powerful people call political capital. Political capital is simply the sum total of uncollected debts you have distributed in your environment. But you have to start today.
You have to stop keeping score in the short term and start investing in the long term. Look at your contact list. Pick 3 people who you haven't spoken to in 6 months. Do not call them to ask for something. Find something of value, an article, a contact, a compliment, and send it to them. Thinking of you. Hope you're winning. Do this every day. It takes 5 minutes. In a year, you will have an army. The Ben Franklin Defect. There is one final, bizarre twist to the law of obligation. It is called the Ben Franklin Defect. We usually think, I help you, so you like me. But the reverse is also true. If I can get you to help me, you will like me more. Ben Franklin famously won over a rival legislator not by doing him a favor, but by asking him for a favor. He asked to borrow a rare book. The rival lent it. Afterward, the rival became Franklin's close friend. Why? Cognitive dissonance. The rival's brain had to justify the action. Why did I lend a rare book to Ben Franklin? I must like him. This is advanced persuasion. Sometimes the best way to bond with someone is to ask them for a small, simple favor. Could I get your advice on this? You're the expert. By allowing them to help you, you make them feel superior and generous. You invest them in your success. When they help you, they become stakeholders in your life. They want you to succeed because your success proves they made a good investment. Chapter 5. The Throne of Authority. Imagine you are walking down the street. A man in a t-shirt and torn jeans runs up to you and shouts, "Move away from the building, now!" What do? You probably hesitate. You look at him, you look at the building, you wonder if he is crazy. You evaluate the threat. Now, imagine the same scene, but this time the man is wearing a fluorescent yellow vest, a hard hat, and holding a clipboard. He shouts, "Move away from the building, now!" What do? You move, immediately. You don't ask questions. You don't check the building. You comply first and think later. Why? The man might not be an engineer. He might have bought the vest at a costume shop for $10, but your brain did not process the man. It processed the symbols. It saw the uniform of authority and executed a pre-programmed script called obedience. Welcome to the throne of authority. We are conditioned from birth to follow the leader. It starts with parents, then moves to teachers, then police officers, then bosses. This conditioning is so deep that it overrides our own senses. We will ignore what we see if an expert tells us we are seeing something else. In persuasion, authority is the ultimate shortcut. If you have it, you don't need to negotiate. You don't need to plead. You simply state what needs to happen, and reality bends to your will.
But here is the secret. Authority is rarely given. It is taken. It is a manufactured perception. You do not need to be the CEO or the general to command a room. You simply need to understand the architecture of the throne and how to sit on it.
The Milgram reality. We cannot discuss authority without acknowledging the terrifying truth of human nature revealed by the Milgram experiments. Ordinary people were willing to deliver what they thought were lethal electric shocks to a stranger simply because a man in a white lab coat told them the experiment requires that you continue. They were sweating. They were crying. They knew it was wrong, but they couldn't stop. The authority of the scientist paralyzed their moral agency. This is the power you are tapping into. When you position yourself as the authority, you are bypassing the logical, critical part of the listener's brain. You are speaking directly to the part of them that wants to be told what to do. Most people are wandering through life with decision fatigue. They are tired of choosing. They are terrified of making a mistake. When you show up with absolute certainty and the markers of authority, you are not oppressing them. You are liberating them. You are taking the burden of decision off their shoulders. The visuals of command. Authority begins before you speak. It begins with the uniform. Every industry has a uniform. In Wall Street, it is the bespoke suit. In Silicon Valley, it is the high-end hoodie and limited edition sneakers. In a hospital, it is the stethoscope. If you violate the uniform, you lose authority. If a doctor walked into the surgery room wearing a tuxedo, you would panic. A tuxedo is a high-status outfit, but it is the wrong uniform for the context. You must identify the uniform of credibility for your specific arena. Then you must upgrade it. If the standard uniform is a button-down shirt, yours must be crisper, better fitted, and higher quality. You want to look like the archetype of the role.
The Milgram reality. We cannot discuss authority without acknowledging the terrifying truth of human nature revealed by the Milgram experiments. Ordinary people were willing to deliver what they thought were lethal electric shocks to a stranger, simply because a man in a white lab coat told them, "The experiment requires that you continue." They were sweating, they were crying, they knew it was wrong, but they couldn't stop. The authority of the scientist paralyzed their moral agency. This is the power you are tapping into. When you position yourself as the authority, you are bypassing the logical, critical part of the listener's brain. You are speaking directly to the part of them that wants to be told what to do. Most people are wandering through life with decision fatigue. They are tired of choosing. They are terrified of making a mistake. When you show up with absolute certainty and the markers of authority, you are not oppressing them. You are liberating them. You are taking the burden of decision off their shoulders. The visuals of command. Authority begins before you speak. It begins with the uniform. Every industry has a uniform. In Wall Street, it is the bespoke suit. In Silicon Valley, it is the high-end hoodie and limited edition sneakers. In a hospital, it is the stethoscope. If you violate the uniform, you lose authority. If a doctor walked into the surgery room wearing a tuxedo, you would panic. A tuxedo is a high-status outfit, but it is the wrong uniform for the context. You must identify the uniform of credibility for your specific arena. Then you must upgrade it. If the standard uniform is a button-down shirt, yours must be crisper, better fitted, and higher quality. You want to look like the archetype of the role.
You want to look like the person they would cast in a movie to play you. But beyond clothes, there is the artifact of the specialist. Authorities use tools. They use props that signal expertise. If you are a consultant, do not just talk. Pull out a specific proprietary diagram or a thick dossier of data. When you point to a chart, you are no longer just a person with an opinion. You are the interpreter of objective truth. The chart is the authority. You are just the voice. This makes your argument irrefutable. The introduction hack. Here is a rule that will instantly double your status. Never introduce yourself if you can avoid it. When you introduce yourself, "Hi, I'm John. I'm really good at marketing." It is a claim. It sounds like boasting. The audience is skeptical. When someone else introduces you, "This is John. He is the top marketing mind in the city." It is a fact. It is social proof. This is the third-party introduction. Before a big meeting, call the person organizing it. Ask them, "How would you like to handle introductions?" Then, give them a short 2-sentence bio. Just say that I've led 3 successful turnarounds in this sector and I'm here to help us scale. When they read that bio, the room quiets down. You start the meeting with a full tank of credibility. If you don't have a host, you can still use this principle by citing third-party sources. My clients usually tell me, "The data we collected last year showed." You are not the source of the brilliance. You are merely the messenger. This humbleness actually increases your authority because it shows you are grounded in reality, not ego. The vocabulary of the expert. Words matter.
Low authority people use weak, hedging language. High authority people use precise, definitive language. The weak. "I think we should maybe try this. Does that make sense? I'm not sure, but..." The strong. The strategy is, "Here is the path forward. Based on the analysis, the solution is X." Notice the removal of I. When you say, "I think," you are making it subjective. It is just your thought. When you say, "The solution is," you are making it objective. It is a fact. Authorities also use jargon strategically. You should not drown people in confusing words. That is insecurity. But you should use the precise terminology of your field to signal membership. If you are a mechanic, you don't say "the whirring thing," you say "the alternator." However, the ultimate power move is simplification. The amateur uses big words to sound smart. The master uses simple words to make you feel smart. Here is the problem. We are bleeding cash in logistics. Here is the fix. We automate the supply chain. Boom, simple, direct, authoritative. The person who can explain complex topics simply is always perceived as the most intelligent person in the room. The silence of the king. We touched on silence in Chapter 2, but in the context of authority, silence takes on a new role: punishment and reward. When you are the authority, you control the flow of validation. When someone says something smart, you validate them immediately. Exactly. Good point. When someone says something foolish or interrupts, you use silence. You look at them. You wait 2 seconds. You do not smile. Then you go back to what you were saying as if they never spoke. This is a status check.
You are not being rude. You are signaling that their comment did not meet the bar for engagement. It is a subtle form of discipline. The group learns very quickly that to get your attention, they must bring value. Also, never rush to answer a question. When a subordinate asks a question, the boss pauses. They think, they consider, then they answer. The pause says, "I operate on my own time. I am not rattled by your urgency." If you answer too fast, it looks like a reflex. It looks like you are eager to please. Take up time. Time is a resource. The person with the most authority consumes the most time while doing the least work. The scarcity of access. Diamonds are valuable because they are rare. Air is vital, but free because it is everywhere. If you are always available, always picking up the phone on the first ring, always ready to meet for coffee, your value drops. Authority figures are inaccessible. They have gatekeepers. Even if you are a one-person business, you must create the illusion of inaccessibility. Do not say, "I'm free all week." Say, "My schedule is tight, but I can squeeze you in on Thursday at 2 p.m. Does that work?" You are signaling demand. If you are busy, it must mean you are good. This is social proof via schedule. Create boundaries. People respect boundaries. If you reply to emails at 11 p.m. on a Saturday, you are teaching people that your time has no value. You are a servant. If you don't reply until Monday morning, you are a professional. You have a life. You have options. The person who is willing to walk away or the person who is harder to reach holds the power.
Taking the head of the table. Let's talk about physical positioning. In any conference room, there is a power dynamic based on seating. The head of the table is the throne. If you want to lead the meeting, sit there. If the table is round, or if you cannot sit at the head, sit opposite the person you need to influence. Do not sit next to them. If you sit next to them, you're looking at the wall together. If you sit opposite, you can make eye contact. You can hold their gaze. Spread your papers out. Claim territory. The intern keeps their notebook on their lap. The boss spreads their documents across the table. This is a dominance display seen in every primate species. We just use spreadsheets instead of rocks. Certainty in chaos. The true test of authority is not when things are going well. It is when the building is on fire. When crisis hits, the hierarchy dissolves. The title on the door no longer matters. The person who remains calm and gives a clear directive becomes the leader. This is emergent authority. If a project fails, or a client is screaming, or the stock market crashes, everyone will look around for a signal. They are looking for the alpha. The alpha is the one who does not flinch. While everyone else is freaking out, what are we going to do? You must go into tactical mode. Acknowledge the reality. Okay, the deal fell through. Remove the emotion. Panic helps nothing. Give the directive. Sarah, call the vendor. Mike, draft a statement. I will handle the board. Let's move. You do not need to know if the plan is perfect. You just need a plan. Action alleviates anxiety. By giving people tasks, you restore order. You save them from their own fear. They will love you for it. Even if the plan changes later, in that moment, you were the God who brought order to chaos. The sorry trap. Here is a forbidden word for the aspiring authority. Sorry. Stop apologizing for existing. If you are late, don't say, "So sorry I'm late." Say, "Thank you for your patience." Do you see the difference? Sorry puts you in the debt of the other person. You are the bad child asking for forgiveness. Thank you for your patience praises the other person for their virtue. You are the leader acknowledging their good behavior. If you make a mistake, own it, but don't grovel. That was my error. Here is how we are fixing it. Full stop. No excuses, no begging. Taking responsibility is a power move. Groveling is a weakness move. The credibility of truth. Finally, authority must be rooted in truth. You can fake the body language and you can fake the suit, but you cannot fake the results forever. Real authority comes from a track record of keeping your word. If you say you will do something and you do not do it, your authority bar drops to 0. If you say you will do it and you deliver, your authority bar grows. This is the compound interest of integrity. Be careful what you promise, but once you promise, move heaven and earth to deliver. People follow consistency. They follow the person who is a rock in a shifting world. If you don't know the answer, don't lie. The insecure person lies because they think an expert must know everything. The true authority says, "I don't know the answer to that yet, but I will find out and get it to you by 5 p.m. That is confidence. That is lack of fear. Chapter 6. The Illusion of Choice. If you walk up to a child and say, "Go to bed right now," what happens? They scream, they argue, they run away. You have triggered their reactance, the psychological resistance to being controlled. But if you walk up to that same child and say, "Do you want to wear the red pajamas or the blue pajamas to bed?" the dynamic shifts instantly. They pause, they think, they say, "The blue ones." And they march off to bed without a fight. They feel like they won because they got to choose the color. You know you won because they went to bed. This is the illusion of choice. Welcome to the art of framing. Most people think persuasion is about forcing someone down a specific path. That is amateur. True persuasion is about designing a landscape where every path leads to your destination, but the traveler feels like they are exploring freely. When you strip someone of their autonomy, they fight you. It is a biological imperative. We need to feel like the authors of our own lives. If you back someone into a corner, they will bite. But if you give them options, carefully curated, strategic options, they will happily walk into the cage you built for them, lock the door, and hand you the key. In this chapter, we are going to learn how to be the architect of decision-making. We will master the double bind, the anchor, and the decoy effect. You will learn that the person who defines the options controls the outcome. The frame is the game. Everything in life is relative. Nothing has meaning without context. A salary of $100,000 a year feels like a fortune if you were making $30,000.
It feels like a failure if you were making $500,000. The number is the same, the frame changes the emotion. Master persuaders do not argue facts, they adjust frames. If you are selling a product for $1,000 and you present it as $1,000, it sounds expensive. That is a cost frame. If you present it as less than the price of a cup of coffee a day for a year, it sounds cheap. That is a daily value frame. If you are proposing a risky business venture, you don't say, "We have a 20% chance of failure." That is a loss frame. You say, "We have an 80% chance of success." That is a gain frame. Mathematically, they are identical. Psychologically, they are different worlds. The first makes investors cautious, the second makes them bold. He who sets the frame controls the reality. When you enter a debate or a negotiation, ask yourself, what is the frame here? Are we framing this as a cost or an investment? Are we framing this as a problem or an opportunity? Are we framing this as you against me or us against the world? If you let the other person set the frame, you are playing an away game. You are fighting uphill. You must reset the frame immediately. I don't see this as a spending problem. I see this as a revenue problem. We don't need to cut costs. We need to unlock growth. Boom. You have changed the lens through which everyone looks at the data. The double bind, A or B. The most classic tool in the illusion of choice is the double bind. This is the technique of offering two choices, both of which advance your agenda.
Never ask a yes-no question if you can avoid it. Do you want to meet next week? Allows for the answer no. That is a dead end. Instead, ask, does Tuesday at 2 p.m. work for you, or would Thursday morning be better? Now their brain stops evaluating if they want to meet and starts evaluating when they want to meet. They are busy checking their calendar, not their desire. If they pick Tuesday, you win. If they pick Thursday, you win. This applies everywhere. In dating, should we grab Italian or sushi tonight? The date is already happening. We are just discussing the menu. In sales, do you want the standard package to get started safely or the premium package to grow faster? Buying is assumed. The level is the variable. In leadership, do you want to handle the research phase or would you prefer to lead the presentation? The work is getting done. You are just picking your weapon. The key is to make the choices legitimate. If you offer, do you want to do your homework or do you want to be grounded? That is not a choice. That is a threat. It triggers resistance. The choices must be attractive enough that the illusion of autonomy is maintained. The anchor, resetting the scale.
How do you sell a $2,000 watch? You put it next to a $10,000 watch. This is anchoring. The human brain is terrible at evaluating absolute value. We only know how to value things by comparison. The first number we hear becomes the anchor, and everything else is measured against it. If you walk into a negotiation and say, "I want $5,000, the other person thinks, "That's a lot."
But if you walk in and say, "Normally, for a project of this scope, agencies charge $15,000, but I'm not an agency, I'm a specialist. I'm looking for $5,000. Suddenly, $5,000 doesn't look expensive. It looks like a steal. You just saved them $10,000. You anchored them at $15K, so $5K feels like the floor. Always drop the anchor first. There is a myth in negotiation that you should let the other person speak first so you don't bid against yourself. Wrong. The person who speaks first sets the anchor. If you offer $100,000 for a house, the negotiation will revolve around $100,000. If the seller demands $150,000 first, the negotiation revolves around $150,000. Be bold. Set an extreme but defensible anchor. If you are selling, start high. If you are buying, start low. This stretches the zone of possible agreement in your favor. Even if you concede ground, you will end up closer to your target than if you had started with a reasonable number. The decoy effect, the useless option. Let's get sophisticated. Let's talk about the decoy effect. Imagine you are at the movie theater. Popcorn, small, $3. Popcorn large, $7. Most people buy the small. They think $7 is a ripoff. Now imagine the theater adds a third option. Popcorn small, $3. Popcorn medium, $6.50. Popcorn large, $7. What happens? Sales of the large explode. Why? Because the medium exists. The medium is the decoy. It is asymmetrically dominated. It is almost as expensive as the large, but offers much less value. Nobody buys the medium. It is not there to be sold. It is there to make the large look like a bargain. For just 50 cents more, I get the huge bucket.
I'd be stupid not to take it. You can use decoys in your life. If you are pitching two ideas to your boss and you really want them to pick idea A, do not pitch idea A alone. Pitch idea A, the one you want. Pitch idea B, a similar idea, but slightly more expensive or slower. Pitch idea C, a completely different, cheaper, but lower quality idea. Idea B is the decoy. It makes idea A look like the smart choice. It has the same benefits, but is cheaper, faster. Idea C is just there to cover the low end. By comparing A to B, the choice becomes obvious. If you are trying to get your friends to go to a specific restaurant, Restaurant A, mention Restaurant B, which is similar but further away and more expensive. Suddenly, Restaurant A looks perfect. You are manipulating the contrast set, the contrast principle. This leads us to the broader contrast principle. If you want something to look small, show them something big first. If you want something to look pretty, show them something ugly first. Real estate agents do this all the time. They take you to a setup house. It is run down, smells like wet dog, and is overpriced. Then they take you to the house they actually want to sell you. It is clean, decent, and fairly priced. If you had seen the second house first, you might have been critical. But after seeing the dump, the second house looks like a palace. If you have bad news to deliver, use contrast. Honey, I crashed the car, the house burned down, and I lost my job. What? Just kidding. I just got a speeding ticket.
The speeding ticket, which would have been a fight, is now a relief. Oh, thank God it's just a ticket. This is emotional relativity. If you are asking for a favor,
Can you watch my dog for the whole weekend? And they hesitate, back down. Okay, could you just let him out on Saturday afternoon? The second request looks tiny compared to the first. They say yes to relieve the pressure. Reciprocity plus contrast. Loss aversion, the fear of missing out. Humans are more motivated by the fear of losing than the desire for gaining. Psychologically, the pain of losing $100 is twice as intense as the pleasure of finding $100. This is loss aversion. If you frame your proposal as a gain, it is weak. If you buy the security systems, you will be safer. I feel safe enough. Frame it as a loss. If you don't install this system, you are leaving your family vulnerable to the break-ins happening in this neighborhood. You are risking their safety. Panic. I need to act. In business, don't say, this software will save you money. Say, you are currently losing $5,000 a month in inefficiencies. Every day you wait is money you are setting on fire. Let's stop the bleeding. People will sit on the couch and dream about making $1 million, but they will run through a brick wall to stop someone from stealing $500 from their wallet. Find the loss. Find what they already have that is at risk. Are they risking their reputation, their time, their current market share? Point a gun at their assets, metaphorically, and offer your solution as the shield.
The "but you are free" technique. Ironically, one of the best ways to get someone to do what you want is to remind them that they don't have to. This is the "but you are free" BAF technique. After you make your pitch, you end with, "But of course it's completely up to you. You know what's best for your situation." This simple phrase disarms resistance. When you push, people push back. When you release the pressure, people lean in. By reaffirming their freedom, you remove the threat to their ego. You signal that you are not a tyrant, you are a consultant. Studies show that using the phrase, "but you are free to choose," doubles the compliance rate in face-to-face requests. It signals confidence. It says, "My idea is so good, I don't need to force it. I trust you to see the value." And because you trusted them, they want to validate your trust by agreeing. Default options, the path of least resistance. Humans are lazy. We are cognitive misers. We prefer the path of least resistance. Given a choice, most people will choose do nothing or keep it the same. This is the power of the default. If you want someone to do something, make it the default option. Don't ask, do you want to sign up for the monthly newsletter? They have to take an action to say yes. Say, we've included the monthly newsletter for you. If you'd prefer not to receive it, just uncheck this box. They have to take an action to say no. Most people won't uncheck the box. In a negotiation, draft the contract the way you want it. Present it as the standard agreement. Here is the standard paperwork. Most people will assume it is fair and won't fight to change the clauses. If you ask them, what terms do you want? They will invent demands. If you give them the terms and say, sign here, they often just sign. Make the yes easy. Make the no hard. If they have to fill out a form, call a number, and wait on hold to cancel, they will never cancel. If they have to click one button to buy, they will buy. Remove the friction from the path you want them to walk and add friction to the paths you want them to avoid. The paradox of choice. Finally, a warning. Do not offer too many choices. We think we want infinite options. We don't. If you walk into an ice cream shop with 50 flavors, you get analysis paralysis. You get anxious. You worry about picking the wrong one. You might walk out buying nothing. If you walk into a shop with 3 flavors, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, you pick one instantly and you are happy. When you are persuading, do not dump data on people. Do not give them 10 options. We could do A or B or C or D. You are stressing them out. You are giving them homework. Curate the list. I've looked at all the possibilities, and it really comes down to these two, strategy A or strategy B. You have done the heavy lifting. You have simplified their world. They will love you for it.
A leader edits. A leader creates clarity. Be the person who cuts through the noise and presents a clean, binary choice. Conclusion: the architect's blueprint. You are no longer a passive participant in conversations. You are the architect.
You build the walls, you place the windows, and you paint the landscape. When you master the illusion of choice, you stop hearing no, because you never ask a question where no is a viable answer. You ask, which one? Or when? Or how? You anchor them high so your price looks low. You use decoys to make your preference shine. You frame the decision as avoiding a painful loss rather than chasing a vague gain. And you always let them feel like they are holding the steering wheel, even though you are the one pouring the concrete for the road. People want to be led, but they want to feel like free men. Give them the feeling of freedom, and they will follow you to the ends of the earth. Now that we have covered the mechanics of choice, we need to go deeper. Logic and framing are powerful, but they are cold. To truly move a human being, to make them loyal, to make them passionate, to make them irrational, you must touch their heart. You must bypass the brain entirely. In the next chapter, The Emotional Fortress, we will learn how to weaponize storytelling, trigger fear and hope, and crack the emotional code that guards every human soul. Chapter 7, The Emotional Fortress. You have the data. You have the spreadsheets. You have the logical proof that your idea is the best one. You present your case perfectly, listing every benefit and every feature. And the other person stares at you blankly and says, "I need to think about it." They don't buy. They don't sign. They don't move. Why? Because you are speaking to the wrong brain. Welcome to the Emotional Fortress.
There's an old saying in sales: logic makes people think, emotion makes people act. If you try to persuade someone using only logic, you're bringing a calculator to a knife fight. You're appealing to the neocortex, the evolutionarily new, slow, analytical part of the brain. The neocortex loves to deliberate. It loves to weigh pros and cons. It loves to stall. But decisions? Real, hard, life-changing decisions? Those happen in the limbic system. The limbic system is ancient. It controls fear, desire, anger, and trust. Crucially, it has no capacity for language. It deals in feelings. When someone says, "I just have a gut feeling about this," that is their limbic system speaking. And the limbic system overrides the neocortex every single time. In this chapter, we are going to learn how to bypass the guard at the gate, logic, and speak directly to the king, emotion. We will learn the architecture of storytelling, the pressure of scarcity, and the drug of validation. The myth of the rational actor. We like to believe we are rational actors. We are not. We are emotional creatures who use logic to rationalize our emotional decisions after we have made them. Think about the last car you bought. You probably told yourself you bought it for the safety rating, the gas mileage, or the resale value. Those are logical justifications. But why did you really buy it? You bought it because of how you felt when you sat in the driver's seat. You bought it because of the sound the door made when it closed, that solid thump that signaled quality. You bought it because you imagined your neighbors seeing it in the driveway. You bought it because it made you feel successful, safe, or adventurous.
If you want to persuade, you must trigger the feeling first. The logic is just the ammunition you give them to defend their decision to their spouse later. Stop selling the specifications. Start selling the identity. Don't sell a drill. Sell the satisfaction of a perfectly hung shelf. Don't sell a membership. Sell the community. Don't sell a plan. Sell peace of mind. Storytelling, the Trojan horse. The human brain is wired for story. Before we had writing, we had oral tradition. We survived by sharing information through narratives. Don't go into that cave because a bear ate Uncle Bob is a lot more memorable than cave equals danger.
When you bombard someone with facts, their critical walls go up. They analyze, they scrutinize, they look for holes in your argument. But when you tell a story, the walls come down. This is the Trojan horse technique. You hide your message inside a narrative. When you say, "Let me tell you a quick story," the other person's brain shifts gears. They relax. They enter a state of transportation. They stop analyzing and start imagining. They put themselves in the shoes of the protagonist. If you are trying to sell a software to a hesitant CEO, don't say, "Our software increases efficiency by 22%. Fact. Boring. Debatable." Say, "I was working with a CEO last year, Jim. He was in the exact same position as you, working 80 hours a week, missing his kids' soccer games, drowning in paperwork. He was skeptical too. But we installed this system on a Tuesday. By Friday, he called me. He was actually at home at 5 p.m. He said it was the first time in 10 years he had dinner with his family without checking his phone."
He got his life back. Now you aren't selling software. You are selling getting your life back. You have bypassed the skepticism. The CEO isn't arguing with the 22%. He is imagining having dinner with his family. A good persuasion story has 3 parts. The struggle, the hero, your client, you, was in pain. The spark, they found a new way, your solution. The transformation, their life is now better. Keep it simple. Keep it sensory. Use details. The phone rang, the smell of the smoke, the silence in the room. Sensory details force the brain to simulate the experience, making it feel real. Scarcity, the fear of the empty shelf. Nothing drives emotion quite like the fear of loss. We want what we cannot have. We want what is going away. This is scarcity. If you walk into a store and see a pile of 100 shirts, you don't care. If you see one shirt left on the rack, suddenly you are interested. Why is it the last one? Is it popular? Someone else might grab it. You must engineer scarcity in your interactions. Quantity scarcity. I only have 2 spots left in my consulting tier. Time scarcity. This offer expires at midnight. Access scarcity. This is a closed beta. We are only letting in select partners. But it must be genuine. If you say, "Only 24 hours left every single day," you are a liar, and you will lose trust. The most powerful form of scarcity is the takeaway. If you sense someone is hesitating, do not push harder. Pull away. Looking at this, I'm not sure if this is the right fit for you right now.
It requires a pretty big commitment, and maybe the timing isn't right. Watch what happens. Panic sets in. "Wait, you're taking it away from me? I didn't say I didn't want it. I just said I wasn't sure." Suddenly, they are selling you on why they are ready. We chase what retreats. By willing to walk away, you become the prize. Urgency, the burning platform. Scarcity is there isn't much left. Urgency is you need to act now. Most people are comfortable in their misery. They will stay in a bad job, a bad relationship, or a bad business strategy because change is scary. To move them, you must light a fire. You must create a burning platform. You have to show them that the cost of inaction is higher than the cost of action. If we don't fix this leak today, it will be a $10,000 repair next month. If you don't secure this right now, with the Fed raising interest, you'll be paying double in a year. You are compressing the timeline. You are forcing the limbic system to react to an immediate threat. Pain is a greater motivator than pleasure. Don't just promise them heaven. Threaten them with hell, gently. Show them the dystopian future where they didn't take your advice. Make it vivid. Then, offer the bridge to safety. Validation, the universal solvent. If there is a master key to the human heart, it is validation. Every human being on earth is walking around with a sign around their neck that says, "Please tell me I am okay. Please tell me I matter." When you validate someone, you melt their defenses. Validation is not agreement. You can validate a madman without agreeing with his delusions. Validation is simply saying,
I see your perspective. It makes sense that you feel that way. When you're in an argument, the other person is shouting because they don't feel heard. They are ramping up the volume to break through your wall. The moment you say, "You're right to be angry. If I were in your shoes, I'd be furious too," the shouting stops. The balloon pops. The air rushes out. They think, "He understands me. He is not the enemy." This is tactical empathy. Identify the emotion they are feeling. Label it. It sounds like you're frustrated by the lack of communication. It seems like you're worried about the risk here. When you name the demon, you tame the demon. Once they feel understood, they become open to influence. You cannot lead someone if you are standing on the opposite side of the canyon shouting at them. You must cross the bridge, validation, stand next to them and say, "Okay, I see what you see. Now look at this." The charisma of certainty, emotional contagion. Emotions are contagious. This is a biological fact called mirror neurons. If you smile, I feel an impulse to smile. If you panic, I feel panic. As the persuader, you are the thermostat of the room. You set the temperature. If you are nervous, apologetic, and shaky, the audience will feel anxious. They won't know why, but they won't trust you. If you are calm, amused, and certain, the audience will feel safe. This is why you must state transfer. Before you enter a room, you must generate the emotion you want them to feel. If you want them to be excited, you must be vibrating with excitement.
If you want them to be serious and focused, you must be grounded. You cannot light a fire with a wet match. You must burn first. The curiosity gap. The brain hates incomplete loops. If I sing "Happy Birthday to" and stop, your brain screams, "You!" It needs closure. This is the curiosity gap. To keep people engaged, you must open loops that you don't close immediately. I'm going to share the 3 steps to financial freedom, but first, let me tell you how I lost everything. Wait, how did he lose everything? I need to know. There is one specific phrase that kills deals instantly. I used to say it all the time. But before we get to that, let's talk about pricing. What is the phrase? Tell me. By withholding the resolution, you create tension. Tension keeps them listening. Don't give away the punchline too early. Make them earn it. Make them wait. The anticipation releases dopamine, which makes the eventual reveal more satisfying. The secret weapon. Vulnerability revisited. We touched on this in Chapter 3, but in the context of the emotional fortress, vulnerability is the drawbridge. If you are too perfect, you are alien. If you admit a fear, a failure, or a doubt, you become human. Honestly, I was terrified to pitch this to you because I respect your work so much. That simple admission disarms the power dynamic. It makes the giant lower his club. It triggers the nurturing instinct. Instead of trying to fight you, they want to help you. Use this carefully. Do not be a mess. Be a competent human with a heart. The us versus them narrative. Finally, the most powerful emotional glue is the concept of the tribe.
We are tribal animals. We want to belong to the in-group and defeat the out-group. Create a common enemy. The enemy doesn't have to be a person. It can be an idea, a system, or a status quo. It's us against the lazy industry standards. It's us against the confusing tax code. It's us against mediocrity. When you invite someone to join your crusade against a common enemy, you create a bond of brotherhood. You are no longer selling to them, you are recruiting them. Are you ready to stop letting the banks push you around? Let's build your wealth. Now you are partners in war, and partners don't negotiate over pennies. They fight back to back. Chapter 8. The Art of the Turn. The moment has arrived. You have done everything right. You established your authority, you built a connection, you told a compelling story, you asked for the commitment, and then silence. The other person looks at you, shifts in their seat, and delivers the one word you have been dreading. No. Or perhaps a variation of it. It's too expensive. I'm not ready. I need to talk to my partner. Your competitor is cheaper.
For the amateur, this is the end of the road. The amateur hears no and feels rejection. Their stomach drops. The fight-or-flight response kicks in. They either apologize and retreat, or they get defensive and argue. Both reactions are fatal. But for the master, no is not the end. No is the starting gun. Welcome to the art of the turn. Until the prospect objects, you aren't negotiating. You are just presenting. You are just reading a brochure. Resistance is a sign of life. It means they are engaged.
It means they are considering your proposition seriously enough to look for flaws in it. If they didn't care, they wouldn't object. They would just say, "Thanks, we'll let you know," and ghost you forever. An objection is a request for more information. It is a puzzle waiting to be solved. In this chapter, we are going to learn the martial arts of conversation. We are going to learn verbal judo. When someone pushes you, you do not push back. You pull. You use their momentum to spin them around until they are facing the same direction as you. The physics of resistance. Let's analyze the physics of an argument. If you push your hand against a wall, the wall pushes back with equal force. This is Newton's third law. It applies to human psychology just as much as it applies to bricks. If someone says, "This is too expensive," and you immediately say, "No, it's not. Look at the value," you have just pushed the wall. They will push back. Yes, it is. Now you are locked in a power struggle. One of you has to lose for the other to win. And since they are holding the money, or the permission, you will lose. To win, you must stop pushing. You must align. The first rule of the turn is never disagree directly. This sounds insane. How can you persuade them if you don't correct them? You correct them by agreeing with their perspective, not their conclusion. This is the agreement frame. When they say, "It's too expensive," you say, "I agree, it is a significant investment. You are right to be careful with your budget." What just happened? You disarmed them. They had their shield up, ready for a fight.
You just dropped your sword. Wait, they think, he agrees with me? The tension evaporates. You have moved from opponent to partner. You have validated their reality, Chapter 7. Now that the wall is down, you can lead them. You are right to be careful. And because it's such a big investment, that is exactly why we use the highest quality materials so you don't have to pay to repair it next year. Would you rather pay once for quality or twice for a cheap fix? You didn't fight the objection. You agreed with the premise, "It's a lot of money," and pivoted to a new frame, long-term value versus short-term cost. The but eraser. There is a word in the English language that destroys persuasion. That word is but. I understand, but. You make a good point, but. I love you, but. But acts as a delete key. It erases everything you said before it. When a client hears but, they know a disagreement is coming. They brace for impact. It negates the validation. To master the turn, you must surgically remove but from your vocabulary and replace it with and. I understand your concern about the price, and that is why we offer a payment plan. You are right that the timeline is tight, and that is why we have assigned 2 extra engineers to your project. And is a bridge. It connects your agreement to your counterpoint without creating conflict. It keeps the energy moving forward. It implies that both things can be true. The price is high, and it is worth it. Try it for a week. Every time you want to say yes, but, say yes, and. You will feel the difference in the room. The friction disappears. Isolating the ghost. Here is the tricky part about objections. The first objection is almost never the real objection. People lie. They lie to be polite. They lie to save face. They say, "I need to think about it," when they really mean, "I don't trust you." They say, "It's too expensive,"
when they really mean, I don't see the value. They say, I need to ask my boss, when they really mean, I'm afraid of making a bad decision. If you try to answer the false objection, you are fighting a ghost. You can answer it perfectly, and they will just invent another one. You must isolate the real issue. You must expose the ghost. How? You use a hypothetical conditional. I hear you on the price. Let me ask you this. If money were no object, if this was free, would this be the solution you want? If they say, well, even if it were free, I'm not sure it fits our workflow, then aha, the price was a lie. The real objection is the workflow. Now you know what to fix. If they say, oh, if it were free, we'd take it in a heartbeat, then you know the price is the only objection. Now you can negotiate on terms. Another way to isolate is the scale of 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that this will solve your problem? If they say 6, do not ask, why not a 10? That makes them defend the negative. Ask, what would it take to get you to a 10? Now they are giving you the roadmap to closing them. They are telling you exactly what is missing.
Well, to be a 10, I'd need to know that your support team is available 24/7. Boom! There is the real objection. It wasn't price, it was support. Address that, and you win. The pivot. Reframing the meaning. Once you have the real objection, you don't argue with it. You reframe it. You take the picture they are looking at and put it in a different frame. The time objection. They say, I don't have time to learn a new system. You pivot. I understand you are busy, but the question isn't, do you have time to learn it? The question is, can you afford to keep wasting 10 hours a week doing it the old way? This system buys you time. Reframe. The problem is not the cost of time, the problem is the waste of time. The money objection. They say, it's too much money. You pivot. It is a premium price, but think of it this way. You aren't buying a product, you are buying insurance against failure. If the cheap version fails, how much does that cost you? Reframe. Cost versus investment. The competitor objection. They say, competitor X is cheaper. You pivot. They are, and they are a great company if you need a basic solution. But my question is, why do you think they are cheaper? What did they cut out to get the price that low? Do you want the discount version of your surgery? Reframe. Cheap equals risky, low quality. You are taking their stop sign and turning it into a warning sign. You aren't telling them to stop. You are telling them to be careful about making the wrong choice, i.e., not choosing you.
Feel, felt, found. This is a classic sales technique, but it works because it leverages social proof and empathy. It structures your response perfectly. Feel. Validate their emotion. I understand how you feel. Felt. Normalize it with social proof. Many of my best clients felt the exact same way when we started. Found. Deliver the solution. But what they found was that, I understand how you feel about the monthly fee. It seems high. My client, Sarah, felt the exact same way last year. She was worried about the cash flow, but what she found was that the system generated so many new leads that it paid for itself in week 2. Now, she says it's her most profitable expense. This works because you aren't arguing. Sarah is arguing for you. You are just telling a story about a third party. It removes the confrontation. The prospect thinks, well, if Sarah felt that way and succeeded, maybe I will too. The question game. The person asking the questions controls the conversation. When someone throws an objection at you, they're trying to take control. They are making a statement. Do not respond with a statement. Respond with a question. Statement. I don't think this will work. Defense. Weak. It will work. Look at the data. Offense. Strong. What specifically makes you say that? Statement. We aren't interested. Offense. I understand. Just out of curiosity, is it that you aren't interested in this specific product, or are you not interested in the benefit, e.g., saving money, right now? Statement. Call me in 6 months. Offense. I can do that.
But I'm curious, what is going to change in your business in the next 6 months that will make this a better fit then? Questions force them to justify their position. Often, they can't. They realize their objection is flimsy. Keep the ball in their court. Make them work. The negative reverse, stripping the line. Sometimes the best way to handle resistance is to amplify it. This is advanced. This is Judo. It is called the negative reverse. If someone is being wishy-washy, hesitant, and dragging their feet, do not chase them. Stop. Turn around. Start walking away. They say, I don't know. It's a lot of money. I'm not sure. You say, calmly, you know what? You're right. This probably isn't the good fit for you right now. Shock. Silence. They were expecting you to beg. They were expecting you to drop the price. Instead, you agreed with their doubt. You continue. It sounds like you have a lot on your plate, and this requires focus. Maybe we should just forget it for now. I don't want you to commit to something you aren't 100% on. This triggers reaction in the other direction. No one likes to be told they can't do something. No one likes to be disqualified. Suddenly, they start selling you. No, wait, it's not that we don't want it. We do. It's just the timing. By pulling away, stripping the line, you force them to chase the bait. You signal that you don't need the deal. And as we learned in Chapter 5, the person who needs the deal less has all the power. Use this when you feel the dynamic slipping. Use it when they are treating you like a commodity.
Reclaim your status by being willing to kill the deal. The Columbo Method. There's a TV detective named Columbo. He wore a trench coat, looked confused, and always asked, just one more thing. He was a master of disarming suspects by playing dumb. You can use this. If you get a hard no and the meeting is over, accept it. Pack up your bag, stand up. Shake their hand. I appreciate your time. No hard feelings. Walk to the door. Hand on the handle, then stop. Turn around. Sorry, just one thing. I'm always trying to get better at this, just for my own growth. Was it the price, or did I just not explain the value well enough? Because the sales interaction is officially over, their guard comes down. They think the danger is past. They will often tell you the truth. Honestly, John, it's not the price. We just don't like the interface. Boom, you have the truth. Now you can decide whether to reopen the conversation. Oh, the interface. Did you know we can customize that? Or just take the data for the next time, turning conflict into collaboration. Ultimately, the goal of objection handling is to move from me versus you to us versus the problem. When they object, physically move to their side of the table, or metaphorically, look at the problem together. It seems like we both want to get this done, but the budget is the roadblock. How can we solve that together? Invite them to solve their own objection. If you were in my shoes and you knew this product would save the company millions, but the upfront cost was the issue, how would you structure the deal? Often, they will give you the solution. Well, maybe if we split the payment into 3 quarters. Done. Make them the architect of the solution. People do not destroy what they build. The mindset of the turn. To execute this, you must conquer your fear of the no. You must realize that no cannot hurt you. It is just sound waves vibrating in the air. Your worth is not tied to their agreement. When you detach your ego from the outcome, you become fearless. You can play with the objections, you can smile when they say it's too expensive, you can remain curious when they get angry. You are the doctor. They are the patient. If a patient screams, I hate this medicine, the doctor doesn't cry, the doctor doesn't argue, the doctor says, I know it tastes bad, but it will save your life. Swallow. Be the doctor. Chapter 9, The Razor's Edge. You are now holding a loaded gun. The techniques we have discussed, reciprocity,
Authority, framing, emotional contagion are weapons. They bypass the conscious mind. They hack the operating system of the human brain. They can compel people to do things they otherwise would not do. A scalpel in the hands of a surgeon saves a life. That same scalpel in the hands of an assassin ends one. The tool is identical. The intent is different. Welcome to the razor's edge. This chapter is the most important chapter in this book. It is the dividing line between a leader and a sociopath, between influence and manipulation. We are going to stare into the abyss. We are going to dissect the dark arts of psychology, gaslighting, triangulation, guilt-tripping, and love bombing. Why? Not so you can use them.
If you use them, you might win the deal today, but you will rot your soul and destroy your reputation tomorrow. We are learning them for defense. You are swimming in a sea of sharks. There are people out there, bosses, partners, salespeople, politicians, who are using these dark tactics on you right now. You feel confused. You feel drained. You feel like you are going crazy. That ends now. You cannot defeat a demon you cannot name. By the end of this chapter, you will have the vision to see the strings and the scissors to cut them. Persuasion versus manipulation. What is the difference? It isn't the technique, it is the outcome. Persuasion is getting someone to do something that is in their best interest, as well as yours. It is a win-win. You are selling a cure for a disease. You use psychology to get them to take the medicine. They get healthy, you get paid. Everyone wins. Manipulation is getting someone to do something that is in your interest but against theirs. It is a win-lose. You are selling snake oil. You use psychology to trick them into buying it. You get paid, they get sick. The manipulator views people as resources to be mined. The persuader views people as partners to be empowered. But here is the catch. The victim often cannot tell the difference in the moment. The manipulator is charming. The manipulator is persuasive. It is only after the check clears or the relationship ends that the victim realizes they have been harvested. To protect yourself, you must recognize the specific patterns of the predator. The erosion of reality. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is the nuclear weapon of the manipulator. It is not just lying. It is a systematic attempt to make you question your own sanity.
The term comes from an old play where husband dims the gas lights in the house, but when his wife notices, he tells her she is imagining it. He denies her reality until she breaks. In the modern world, it looks like this. You catch your business partner stealing. You confront them. They don't apologize. They don't deny it. They say, "You are so paranoid. You've been under a lot of stress lately. I think you need a break. We're all worried about you." Do you see the shift? They didn't discuss the theft. They discussed your mental state. They turned the accusation back on you. Suddenly, you are defending your sanity instead of prosecuting their crime. You start to think, am I stressed? Did I misinterpret the numbers? The signs. They deny saying things you know they said. They tell you your emotions are crazy or too sensitive. They isolate you from friends who might validate your reality. The defense. You cannot argue with a gaslighter. They will not accept facts. The defense is documentation and disengagement. Write everything down. Keep a journal. Save the emails. When you have a record, you have an anchor to reality. When they say, "That never happened," you don't argue. You say, "I have it written down here. I am not debating the record." Then disengage. Do not try to convince them they are wrong. You know they're lying. They know they're lying. The argument is a distraction. Walk away.
The geometry of conflict. Triangulation. In a healthy relationship, communication happens in a straight line. A speaks to B. In a manipulative relationship, the manipulator creates a triangle. Triangulation is the act of bringing a third person into the dynamic to create jealousy, insecurity, or competition.
Imagine a boss, the puppet master. He has two employees, you and John. He tells you, John is really crushing it this month. I'm thinking of giving him the lead on the new project. You need to step it up. He goes to John and says, you better watch out. You're slipping, and your name is hungry for your job. Now, you and John are fighting each other. You are suspicious. You are working 80 hours a week to beat him. You are both looking at the boss for approval. The boss sits back and watches. He has manufactured a war to extract more labor from both of you. This happens in dating, too. My ex wouldn't have reacted like that. That girl at the bar was checking me out. They are signaling, I am in high demand. You are lucky to have me. You better behave or I will replace you. The defense. Break the triangle. Go to the third point. If the boss says John is talking trash, go to John. Hey, John, the boss mentioned there's some tension. I just wanted to clear the air. Usually, you will find out John never said anything. The manipulator relies on the fact that you and John won't talk. When you connect the 2 points of the base, the apex falls. Direct communication is the kryptonite of triangulation. The weaponization of empathy. Guilt tripping. Empathy is a beautiful trait. It is also the entry point for the parasite. Manipulators love empathetic people because empathetic people are easy to control with guilt. Guilt tripping is framing your boundaries as a betrayal. If you really loved me, you would do this. After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me?
I guess I'll just sit here alone while you go out with your friends. They make you feel responsible for their emotions. They act like the victim, so you will act like the rescuer. This creates a debt trap. You feel you owe them, so you comply. The defense. You must distinguish between responsibility and compassion. You can have compassion for their feelings without taking responsibility for them. The mantra is, I can accept your disappointment, but I cannot accept your demand. I understand you are sad that I can't come over. I love you, but I have to work tonight. Do not over-explain. Do not apologize profusely. When you apologize for setting a boundary, you are telling them the boundary is wrong. State the boundary, validate the feeling, release the guilt. You are not the architect of their happiness. They are. The sugar trap. Love bombing. If you meet someone new, a client, a lover, a friend, and within 2 weeks, they are telling you that you are the most incredible person they have ever met, that you are soulmates, that you are a genius, run. This is love bombing. It is an overwhelming bombardment of affection, praise, and gifts. It feels amazing. It releases dopamine. You feel seen. You feel special. You let your guard down. You open the fortress gates. Once you are hooked, the bombing stops. The devaluation phase begins. Suddenly, they are cold. They are critical. You panic. You think, what did I do wrong? How do I get that amazing feeling back? You start chasing them. You start jumping through hoops to please them. They have you. You are now an addict chasing the initial high. The defense? Time. Real trust takes time to build.
Real respect is earned, not given instantly. If the intensity is a 10-10 immediately, it is artificial. Slow it down. I'm really enjoying this too, but I want to take things at a steady pace. If they respect your pace, they are genuine. If they get angry, pushy, or offended that you want to slow down, don't you trust me? They are a manipulator. The predator hates a slow game. They want a quick kill. Speed is their weapon. Patience is your shield. The double bind, dark mode. We discussed the double bind in Chapter 6 as a persuasion tool. Red pajamas or blue pajamas. In the hands of a manipulator, it becomes a torture device. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. A wife buys her husband 2 shirts. He puts on the blue one. She looks at him sadly and says, "Oh, you didn't like the red one." If he puts on the red one, she says, "I knew you hated the blue one." There is no winning move. The goal is not to get you to wear a shirt. The goal is to make you feel wrong, to keep you off balance. The defense, meta-commentary. You must stop playing the game and talk about the game. I noticed that no matter which shirt I choose, the response is that I made the wrong choice. It feels like a no-win situation. What is the actual issue here? You are pulling back the curtain. You are exposing the mechanism. Manipulators hate being analyzed. When you call out the tactic, it loses its power. The technique of gray rock. What if you cannot leave? What if the manipulator is your boss, your co-parent, or a family member you can't cut off?
You become a gray rock. A gray rock is boring. It is uninteresting. It offers no fuel. Manipulators feed on narcissistic supply. They feed on your reaction. They want your anger, your tears, your defense, or your adoration. Any emotion will do. When they try to provoke you, you give them nothing. Them, "You're the worst employee I've ever had." You, "Okay, I'll note that." Flat tone, no eye contact. Them, "Your mother thinks you're a failure." You, interesting." You become as dull as a rock. When they realize they can't get a reaction out of you, they will get bored and move on to a new victim. It takes discipline. You will want to scream. Do not scream. Scream in your car later. In front of them, be stone. JADE, the shield of silence. When under attack, your instinct is to jade, justify, argue, defend, explain. "No, I wasn't late. I was late because the traffic was bad and I had to drop off the kids and..." Stop. When you jade, you are signaling that your position is weak. You are signaling that you need their approval. You are giving them ammunition to argue with. "I wasn't late." Statement of fact. "I am not taking that shift." Statement of boundary. "No" is a complete sentence. The less you say, the more power you hold. The silence of the king, Chapter 5, applies here as a defense mechanism. Your silence forces them to sit with their own toxicity. The self-audit. Are you the manipulator? Now, we must turn the mirror around. It is easy to point fingers, but we all have a shadow. We all want things. We all fear rejection.
We all have the capacity to be manipulative. Ask yourself these hard questions. Do I withhold information to control outcomes? Do I use anger to silence people? Do I make people feel guilty when they say no to me? Do I promise things I have no intention of delivering just to get peace in the moment? If the answer is yes, you are walking on the razor's edge. You might be getting what you want, but you are burning the bridge while you stand on it. Manipulation is an addiction to short-term control at the expense of long-term influence. It comes from fear. It comes from the belief that you are not enough to get what you want honestly. It comes from the imposter syndrome we fought in Chapter 1. When you heal the self, the need to manipulate vanishes. When you truly believe you are the prize, you don't need to trick people into buying you. You know your value is self-evident. The reputation economy. Here is the pragmatic argument for ethics. We live in a hyper-connected world. In the village, if you cheated the blacksmith, the whole village knew by sunset. For a while in the big cities, you could be anonymous. You could cheat someone and move to the next town. The internet has turned the world back into a village. Reputation is your currency. If you use the dark arts, you might get rich fast, but you will be surrounded by people who don't trust you, people who are waiting to stab you in the back, and people who are only there for the money. It is a lonely, paranoid existence. But if you use ethical persuasion,
If you deliver on your promises, if you create win-wins, if you respect boundaries, you build a compound reputation.
People vouch for you when you aren't in the room. Opportunities find you. You sleep well at night. The infinite game is not about winning the argument. It is about keeping the other person at the table. It is about building a relationship that lasts decades. Chapter 10. The Infinite Game. We have reached the summit. We have journeyed through the internal mechanics of self-belief, the external signals of body language, the architecture of charisma, and the tactical weaponry of negotiation. You now possess a toolkit that 99% of the population will never see, let alone master. But if you stop here, you have missed the point. If you treat persuasion as a series of isolated battles, a sale here, an argument there, a date here, you are playing a finite game. In a finite game, the goal is to win. You want to beat the other person. You want to extract the resource and move on. But life is not a finite game. Life is an infinite game. In the infinite game, the goal is not to win. The goal is to keep playing. The goal is to build a system where you don't have to fight for every inch of ground. The goal is to reach a level of existence where you don't have to persuade anyone because your reputation persuades them before you even walk in the room. Welcome to the final level. Welcome to the legacy. The end of effort. Imagine a world where you pick up the phone and people answer on the first ring. Imagine a world where you propose an idea and people say yes before you even finish the pitch. Imagine a world where opportunities, jobs, deals, relationships hunt you down. This is not a fantasy. This is the reality of the masters.
How do they do it? Do they have better scripts? Do they have better body language? No. They have persuasion. They have built a reputation so dense, so reliable, and so valuable that the persuasion phase is skipped entirely. The sale was made 5 years ago when they kept a promise. The agreement was signed 10 years ago when they acted with integrity when no one was looking. This is the ultimate efficiency. The amateur hustles and grinds to close every deal. The master flows. The amateur pushes the boulder up the hill every day. The master has built a machine that pulls the boulder for them. Reputation as an asset class. We are taught to invest in stocks, real estate, and crypto. We track our net worth in dollars. But the most volatile and valuable asset you own is your reputation capital. Money can be printed. Real estate can be seized. But your reputation resides in the minds of others. It is the sum total of every interaction you have ever had. Every time you are late, you withdraw capital. Every time you lose your temper, you withdraw capital. Every time you deliver more than you promised, you deposit capital. Every time you protect someone's secrets, you deposit capital. Most people are reckless spenders of their reputation. They burn a bridge to save a few dollars. They lie to get out of a small awkwardness. They gossip to feel important for 5 minutes. They don't realize they are bankrupting their future. In the infinite game, you protect your name with your life. You would rather lose money than lose trust. Why? Because money can be earned back. Trust cannot. Once trust is shattered, it is like a broken mirror. You can glue it back together, but the cracks will always be visible. Warren Buffett said it best. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. The compound interest of consistency. There is no hack for this chapter. There is no magic phrase. There is only one boring, unsexy, relentless truth. Consistency. Consistency is the rarest quality in the modern world. Everyone is motivated on January 1st. Everyone is excited at the launch of the project. But who is still executing in June? Who is still delivering high quality when the excitement has faded and the work is hard? If you are the person who shows up every single time, you become a force of nature. People rely on you, and reliance is the bedrock of influence. If I know that if I give a task to you, it will get done, I am dependent on you. You have power over me. If I know that if I tell you a secret, it will stay a secret, I am bonded to you. Be the person who is boringly reliable. Be the person who is predictably excellent. It doesn't pay off immediately. That is why most people quit. It is like bamboo. For 5 years, you water the ground and see nothing. Then, in 6 weeks, it grows 90 feet. Your reputation is growing underground. Keep watering it. The flywheel of influence. When you play the infinite game, you activate the flywheel. In the beginning, you have to push the wheel. You have to cold call. You have to network. You have to prove yourself. It is heavy. It is exhausting. But you keep pushing. You treat people well. You add value.
You create reciprocity debts, Chapter 4, all over town. Eventually, the wheel starts to spin on its own. People start talking about you. You need to talk to Sarah. She's the best. I know a guy who can fix this. Call Mike. Now you have an army of evangelists out there persuading for you. This is the network effect. Your influence is no longer limited to the people you can speak to directly. Your influence is viral. This is how the best consultants get clients without a website. This is how the best leaders attract talent without recruiters. They have built a gravity well. But remember, the flywheel works both ways. If you are toxic, if you are a manipulator, the whisper network will warn people away from you. Stay away from him. He's bad news. And you will never even know why the phone isn't ringing, from extracting to giving. The paradox of the infinite game is that the more you give away, the more you have. The finite player asks, how can I get a slice of the pie? The infinite player asks, how can I make the pie bigger for everyone? When you become a mentor, when you become a connector, you step into a higher tier of authority. You stop competing. Competition is for the bottom 90%. At the top, there is only collaboration. If you see a young person with potential, help them. Don't ask for a fee, just help them. Give them the advice you wish you had. Why? Because in 10 years, that young person will be a CEO, and they will answer your call on the first ring. If you see 2 people in your network who should know each other, introduce them. John, meet Jane.
You guys would do great work together. You just created value out of thin air. You were the architect of their success. They both owe you. Be the source. Be the fountain, not the drain. The drain is always empty. The fountain is always full because it is connected to the source. The architecture of your legacy. What do you want written on your tombstone? He closed a lot of deals. She made a lot of money. No, you want, he changed lives. She made us better. Persuasion, at its core, is a tool for leadership. It is the ability to move human beings from where they are to where they need to be. You have a responsibility to use this power to lift people up. Use your skills to persuade your children to believe in themselves. Use your skills to persuade your community to support a cause. Use your skills to persuade your team to achieve the impossible. When you use persuasion for service, you become untouchable. You are no longer just a slick talker. You are a leader. And leaders live forever in the stories of the people they led. The Grand Review. Your arsenal. Let's look back at the weapon you have built over these 10 chapters. The first sale. You conquered your own mind. You killed Imposter Syndrome and replaced it with conviction. The silent broadcast. You mastered the nonverbal. You learned to stand, look, and move like a king. The magnetism of identity. You engineered charisma. You balanced power and warmth. You became the attractive character. The debt of obligation. You learned to give before you take. You mastered reciprocity. The throne of authority. You learned to command respect through silence, environment, and certainty. The illusion of choice. You learned to frame the world. You gave them autonomy while guiding the outcome. The emotional fortress. You bypassed logic.
You used story, scarcity, and validation to touch the heart. The art of the turn. You learned to dance with no. You pivoted resistance into agreement. The razor's edge. You learned to defend yourself against the dark arts. You chose ethics over manipulation. The infinite game. You committed to the long term. You prioritized legacy over currency. You are ready. The training is over. The simulation is finished. The door is opening. The final challenge. I have one last question for you. Now that you know how to get exactly what you want, what do you want? Most people never answer this question. They just want more. But more is not a destination. You need a vision. You need a purpose. Persuasion without purpose is just noise. Go find a mountain worth climbing. Go find a war worth fighting. Go find a person worth loving. And then use everything you have learned in this audiobook to win. Do not be timid. The world is shaped by the bold. The world is shaped by those who can articulate a vision and convince others to build it. That person is you. Stand up, shoulders back, head high, eyes forward. Go out there and make them listen. Go out there and get what is yours.